How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Good to be back. I don't know if you guys saw, but first of all, I mean, Elon Musk and Zelensky are having like a feud on Twitter. Tucker Carlson has been placed on a Ukrainian government-sponsored kill list. Yes, missile alerts activated in Japan right now. Well, 3 hours ago, because he launched a ballistic missile over Japan, like that. Why is it that Donald Trump was condemned so vociferously? MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, he's meeting with a dictator. CNN, Don Lemon, I can't believe it. This man has lost his mind. He's meeting with Kim Jong-un. Yeah, he's meeting with Kim Jong-un to try and negotiate peace. Shocking, right? So we can prevent stuff like further aggression between the DPRK and other Western, vassal states further down the line in the future. Maybe so we could, I don't know, like anything could happen when you establish peace. Like that should be the road we should all strive for, right? Peace is a good thing, unless you're Rachel Maddow, unless you're Don Lemon, and so on and so forth. We all get that. But I'm just like, he was condemned. I have a t-shirt. It's Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un and they're shaking hands. I have a t-shirt with them on it. Because that was one of the most base things he tried to do. And he was probably gone after the hardest for that. They went after him so hard for that. How dare he try to establish a peace deal? Sickening. I swear it seems like World War III is inevitable at this point. How do you feel, Jackson? Do you think things will change before it's too late? No, I do think that we're headed to World War III. I mean, I tried to be as I'm a very happy person. I always look at the glass half full, but I'm a realist. I recognize that we are definitely headed to World War III. It's called Sitzkrieg. The war before the war. Sitzkrieg. That's what it was referred to in World War. I believe that was World War II. It was called the Sitzkrieg. The war before the war. Oh my fuck. Whatever. Oh my God, so we stand with Iran. We stand with Iranian women. No, it's all CIA bullshit. It's all fake. Don't fall for it. Please, and if you already fell for it, no worries. It's okay. It's okay. I have so much information that points to the fact that this is a CIA. It is quite literally guaranteed 100% a CIA op. If you want to support the CIA op, that's your decision. I don't care. But I'm asking you, probably don't. Consider looking at the information because it's all BS. Trump is suing CNN for defamation. He's seeking $475 million for damages. Tucker was placed on a Ukrainian kill list sponsored by the Ukrainian government. So quickly did the Ukrainian government and President Volodymyr Zelensky forget just how much Elon Musk, founder and CEO of Tesla, supported his country's plight in this proxy war in Ukraine when he donated his Starlink services to Ukrainian fighters and volunteers, made his Starlink services available for the Ukrainian fighters. But the Overton window is shifting. The narrative that the mainstream media has pushed surrounding the war in Ukraine is falling, and people are freaking out. Most notably, President Volodymyr Zelensky is freaking out, and he came after Elon Musk today for saying something that I don't think is all that crazy for him to say. Let's take a look first at what Elon Musk tweeted out. I saw it, and I was just so happy. I was like, based Elon Musk. Let's take a look at this tweet. So first thing I woke up, I saw this tweet, and I'm like, that is a beautiful tweet to wake up to. Okay, so yes, Elon Musk has officially proposed a Ukraine peace plan. SpaceX and Tesla CEO Elon Musk has proposed a plan to end the conflict in Ukraine. The billionaire suggested that new elections be held in the 4 regions that recently voted to join Russia, while Ukraine would commit to neutrality and relinquish its claim to Crimea. Say what? Yeah, he actually said that. Russia leaves if that is the will of the people. Crimea formerly part of Russia, as it has been since 1783 until Khrushchev's mistake. Boy, oh boy, did that probably just piss off a bunch of NATO trolls. And Ukraine remains neutral, meaning not a NATO member state. Elon said this is highly likely to be the outcome in the end, just a question of how many die before then. Also worth noting that a possible, albeit unlikely, outcome from this conflict is nuclear war. That is definitely a possibility as well. The Ukrainian president rallied his followers against the Elon Musk who supports Russia. Supporting peace now means he supports Russia. Okay, Zelensky responded here. He said, "Which Elon Musk do you like more? One who supports Ukraine, one who supports Russia. Elon replied, said, "Look, bud, I still very much support Ukraine, but I'm convinced that massive escalation of the war will cause great harm to Ukraine and possibly the world." I say the one who supports peace. I like the version of Elon who supports peace. That's what I'm going to say about this. And then anti-peace bots came in, NATO trolls, NAFO trolls, and he said, "Indeed, biggest bot attack I've ever seen." So Elon Musk now calling out, the Western proxy bots on Twitter for begging and pleading and demanding more war in this Ukraine proxy war. So this person responded, said, "Elon, you've done so much good for Ukraine by enabling Starlink and providing thousands of terminals. But these polls and the tweets about bot attacks aren't helping. In fact, they are enraging many Ukrainians." Okay, cool. He said, "You are assuming that I wish to be popular. I don't care. I do care that millions of people may die needlessly for an essential identical outcome. Russia is doing partial mobilization. They go to full war mobilization if Crimea is at risk. Death on both sides will be devastating. Russia has more than 3 times the population of Ukraine, so victory for Ukraine is unlikely in total war. If you care about the people of Ukraine, seek peace." Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, he said that he's a secret Russian asset. That's obviously a joke. But I just found that such an interesting tweet there. I mean, out of nowhere, he's calling for peace. And look at how they responded by sicking thousands and thousands and thousands of bots on his account and to skew the poll. And also, just flat out condemning him for calling for peace. When has calling for peace ever been a bad thing? Like, how is that a bad thing? Who's arguing that he's not right about this? We all know how this is going to end. We've known how this is going to end since the war began. Either Russia wins or we have all-out nuclear war. Pick your poison. Pick your poison. Elon Musk is right about this Tucker Carlson dilemma. This is so crazy. Okay. I don't care if you like Vladimir Putin. I don't care if you like Russia. I don't care if you hate Putin in Russia. I don't care, okay? But for a journalist, a reporter, to be able to do his or her job, unimpeded, is something that I think we should all support, okay? Now, Tucker Carlson might have opinions about the war in Ukraine that you don't like, but again, don't you think that it's still reasonable for Tucker to be able to express his views? He's providing a perspective on the war in Ukraine that no one, with the exception of maybe sometimes Laura Ingraham, has presented on the mainstream media. He's going against the grain, and I'd have to say, by and large, for the most part, Tucker Carlson is right. He's calling out this as a Ukraine proxy war. He understands the inherent risk here of cascading into full-blown nuclear war. And he understands if that doesn't happen, that Russia's going to win. And all that's going to happen is avoidable death and tragedy. Okay, it's being funneled and pushed and promoted by the Biden administration and our Western vassals. Tucker Carlson has been placed on the Ukrainian government's official kill list. Yeah, that's a thing. There's been many people placed on this Ukrainian government-sponsored kill list. And these individuals, in some cases, have actually been targeted and assassinated. Once done so, they update their profile on the Ukrainian government kill list website, and they put a slash over there. They put a graphic over their face that says liquidated in Ukrainian. That's a real thing. It's happening right now. No one's talking about it, but it's pretty scary. It's absolutely insane that Tucker Carlson has been placed on this list. Now, Tucker Carlson's not the only person that you know that's been placed on this list. Colonel Douglas Macgregor, Trump's former Pentagon senior advisor that we've had on the show here twice, has been placed on this list. Many LaRouche organization and Schiller organization members have been placed on this list. In fact, Lyndon LaRouche's widow, Helga Zepp LaRouche, has been placed on this list. There's been countless people placed on this list that you all know. The Ukrainian Center for Countering Disinformation, funded by the U.S. Congress, mind you, has republished its list of info-terrorists. Schiller Institute founder Helga Zepp LaRouche is now at the number 1 position. New additions, including President Kaguta Museveni of Uganda and Tucker Carlson. So there you see him right there. Dmitry Polyansky posted this. He said, "Oh, him as well? Looks like there's already a more impressive group than for Oscar nominations. Any hope that the U.S. government will react to this clear threat to a U.S. journalist and to at least 327 minors?" Yeah, there's 327 minors on this list as well. Take a look. Another person you know is Roger Waters. This is a database which lists thousands of journalists, activists, and anyone else who is declared an enemy of Ukraine. Personal data or information is published, such as addresses of their homes, their phone numbers, and bank account numbers. Anything that can help them be easily located. When the people on this list are murdered, the word liquidated, written in Ukrainian, is stamped across their picture in big red letters. Even Henry Kissinger has been placed on this website. This website is still allowed to be up. It's not taken down. It's not deemed like a terrorist threat or anything like that. Far less concerning websites are taken down in the United States on a monthly basis. But a Ukrainian government-sponsored website that is promoting the assassinations of the people they don't like is allowed to say and dox people? The U.S. government has taken no action to block the website, although many Russian websites and alternative news media have been blocked by social media giants for publishing information about the war in Ukraine, which does not line up with official narratives. Keep in mind, they took down RT. This Mirot Verets is allowed to stay up. There are companies in the U.S. which actually cooperate with Mirot Verets and provide the website with information. If you look at the main page of Mirot Verets, you will see address Langley County, Virginia. There are posts on the site from accounts which have names of Western intelligence agencies, the CIA, FBI, NATO, MI5, and the NSA. Who are these people? Andrew Weisbord, an American intelligence analyst, publicly announced his cooperation with the Ukrainian government in January 2015, around the time when Mirot Verets began publishing the personal data of journalists. Weisbord stated, "I'm just trying to do my part to help make bad things happen to bad people who are in the service of the Kremlin." Joel Harding, self-proclaimed information operations expert, another American who was involved in the creation of Mirot Verets, who says he is a former U.S. Army intel officer and that he was a senior advisor at NATO. Harding developed a cyber support strategy to oust Russian media from the Ukrainian information field, and according to Eliason, he wanted to control what news and information Ukrainians have access to on social networks, the internet, and television. They're updating it every couple of weeks, and they're adding more and more and more people that are exposing the truth surrounding the war in Ukraine, and it is extremely concerning to say the least. There's a lot of talk right now about a nuclear missiles convoy that's moving through Russia. Because we're at war right now, it's getting a lot of attention. We are closer than I think we've ever been in a very, very long time to nuclear war. Nuclear war with Russia, escalating tensions with China, most resistance with the DPRK as well. Today, North Korea, the DPRK fired a ballistic missile that flew over Japan. Take a listen. How little pushback there is from anyone in Congress right now, Democrats or Republicans, about the direction that Joe Biden is taking our country.
If you live in a big metro area, there's not anything you're going to do during a nuclear exchange because you're going to be dead, along with most other Americans. The overwhelming majority of Americans will be dead, and those who survive will starve to death because all agriculture will be destroyed, along with billions of people around the planet. So it's time to update your assumptions about the technology here. These are not the bombs that flattened Nagasaki. They are incalculably more powerful. You hit New York, you take out Miami. So a nuclear war means not that we get to take out the Black Sea Fleet, it means the end of the world. And people who work around this stuff understand it, and they're really afraid. but no one else seems to have any idea. Why is that? Glenn Greenwald has been watching really carefully all of this unfold. His work is on Substack. We're happy to have him join us tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on. It seems to me no matter how you feel about Putin, or Ukraine or the justness of the war or anything, the threat, the very real, in-your-face threat of a nuclear exchange right now that they're openly talking about would require the media to start telling people, hey, this is real, but nobody is. And I wonder why that is.
If you look at the history of American wars, Tucker, over the last several decades, they're incredibly similar. The way they convince Americans to support U.S. involvement in a war is they personalize a particular leader, get us to hate that leader. Oh, Saddam Hussein in Iraq is a terrible guy. Bashar al-Assad in Syria is this tyrannical force. Mullah Omar in Afghanistan is somebody we have to go and take out. Gaddafi in Libya, our emotions get up and we say, yeah, we can't, well, let's go take out these tyrants. And then, hundreds of billions of dollars later and lives lost, polls always show that Americans come to realize that they regard those wars as a mistake. And the reason is they realize that no benefits came to the United States and American citizens by virtue of U.S. involvement in those wars. So let's apply that framework here. The consensus in Washington is that we are closer to the use of nuclear weapons than at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis 60 years ago. There is a very real threat of a nuclear exchange or even a direct confrontation with Russia and the United States. And over what? Over who governs and rules not even Ukraine, but the Donbass, the eastern region in Ukraine, where a majority of people actually identify as ethnic Russians and want to be part of Russia. And yet there's almost no debate over whether we should be sending huge amounts of money there and risking the lives of American citizens through the possibility of a nuclear war, because everyone knows that the minute you step up and step out of line, there's a horde of people ready to call you unpatriotic or a traitor or an admirer of Vladimir Putin, as I know is being done with our very segment right this minute by all those Media Matter people and other people online. So it's a really repressive atmosphere, and it's squashing a debate that we absolutely have to have.
Yeah. We're 2 minutes to midnight, and everyone who is supported by the mainstream apparatus, be it in politics, the business community, or the mainstream media in the United States and in the West, is saying, if you are calling out this situation as, potential threat of nuclear war and something that we should try to, cool down, rather than further escalation, further support for Ukraine, then you're a Putin puppet. You're a Putin propagandist.
But we're losing track of reality. If a nation has nuclear weapons and you believe even theoretically they might use them, you have to treat that nation differently. You may not want to, it may be unfair, but that's why nations seek nuclear weapons, because you can't boss them around. If you ignore the possibility that your entire population could be killed, you are not fit for leadership because you're insane. And it feels like our leaders are right there. They're insane.
I think there's almost this sense that has been purposely cultivated to believe that the use of nuclear weapons really isn't a realistic possibility, even though we have had the use of nuclear weapons in the last century when the U.S. did it in Japan for World War II. And we came very close on at least 2 or 3 occasions. The U.S. and Russia did, these very same countries, to exchanging nuclear weapons and risking nuclear annihilation, including in the Cuban Missile Crisis, because the U.S. felt that the Russian presence over the border in Cuba was so threatening that we were going to have a nuclear war over it. That's how Russia sees what's happening in Ukraine right across their border. It is madness to assume that for Russia, what is an existential war, if they actually start losing it or NATO really starts escalating as we've been doing, that the chances of Vladimir Putin using nuclear weapons is zero. This is a dangerous delusion that I think a lot of people are operating under.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Glenn, I want to hit you with breaking news here. So this is a Fox News report. Air raid sirens blaring across Tokyo, obviously the biggest city in the world, in Japan. Government there warning that North Korea has apparently fired a ballistic missile into Japanese airspace. The Japanese in Tokyo being instructed to shelter indoors immediately. Of course, I believe our vice president was just in South Korea. Glenn, what do you make of this?
I mean, it's hard to analyze the specific event since it just happened, but what I will use it for is to, again, say that when you start talking about things like major countries using long-range missiles, a lot of times the reason escalation happens isn't even because the countries want it to, but because when hostilities are intensified enough, miscommunication and misperception happen. That's why when you get involved in a war like the one in Ukraine, things are incredibly dangerous. The world is a dangerous place. These weapons can kill hundreds of millions of people at once, and we are playing with fire, Tucker, by not even being willing to debate this out of fear that we're going to be called names. And I think it's crucial that we recognize the importance of it.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. I mean, it's our job to say what we think is true regardless. So we're looking at pictures right now of air raid sirens in Tokyo. Certainly all of this adds up, at least at first glance, to a world in turmoil that is in some very deep way resetting. You know, those post-war norms and institutions that we often hear the foreign policy people describe seem to be collapsing to some extent around the world.
Yeah, you know, I think it's pretty ironic that for all the accusations about Donald Trump, that he was a Kremlin agent, that he was willing to hand over the world to Vladimir Putin, it is true that none of these things happened during the Trump administration. The Russians annexed Crimea under President Obama. They invaded Georgia under President Bush. Nothing happened during the Trump years with all of this kind of instability, and now we're seeing it again. And I think the reason, in part, is because people look at Joe Biden and know that he's a doddering leader who has clearly lost much, if not most, of his mental capacity. And when you see a leader like that, a lot of countries around the world see that as a signal to start exploiting the situation for their own interest. I believe that's absolutely a factor.
It's the drunk stepdad. Do what you want.
North Korea is one of our allies too. Take a listen.
So the United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. And it is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
So our allies are fighting each other now, North Korea and Japan. It's absolutely incredible what's happening right now. War is becoming all the more serious. Why is it that so many people say, oh, Putin is a crazy guy, he's a crazy, insane leader, we should never underestimate what he's doing, but then we're pushing him closer and closer to nuclear war? I happen to believe that Putin is a very sane, rational leader. I think he's very organized, structured in the way that he governs, and I think the war in Ukraine has proven that to be such. But if you take their word to be, gospel, if you really do believe that Vladimir Putin is an insane, unhinged leader that will do anything at a moment's notice, he's got his hands on the nuclear button, why are you pushing him? Why are you supporting pushing him closer? Why don't you to nuclear war? Why don't you support a peace deal? Questions that no one in the mainstream press is ever going to answer because they are too damning. That's just the way it is. All right. So,